Hello and welcome to the Buckets and Tea NBA show. I'm your host, Katherine Niker. Thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode. I am coming at you very late on Thursday after game 2 between OKC and Minnesota. I know I do these podcasts usually earlier in the day, but I just felt like I don't want this to be dead on arrival when we put it out on Friday. So stayed up for you all. Hope you appreciate it. Like, subscribe, blah, 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 all that good stuff. I do appreciate it. I just hate asking. Okay, so let's get into it. So, first of all, congrats to SGA for winning the MVP. Yes, we're so excited. Our second Canadian to win MVP in the NBA. First Ontarian. Shout out to Hamilton. Shout out to his high school for doing a mural. They started this mural weeks ago, but the MVP of it all with his arms stretched out has been, I don't know if it was unveiled today or if it just like kind of made the news rounds today because it's there. But my mom was like, I sent you an article about this earlier in the month. And I was like, I don't remember. And then she was like, scroll back to our chat, May 10th. I took a photo of the newspaper, Hamilton Spectator, okay, and sent it to you. I guess I didn't notice, but it was about this mural that his high school's doing. So I think they are called McNabb High School. Hold on, I had this in front of me. Let me just pull this up 1 second here. Love this for me. Good podcasting. Sir Allan McNabb High School. Yes. So shout out to them. Shout out to Hamilton. What's Hamilton going to do to commemorate this? I feel like SGA is a Hamilton icon now. I mean, he was before, but the MVP really solidifies that. Like, is he going to get a statue? I feel like he deserves a statue. Maybe they're going to wait till later in his career, before they start busting out the statues. But I feel like SGA is going to get a statue. Question: where do they put it? Huh? Hamiltonians, Ontarians. Let me know where would you want the SGA statue? Should it be near his high school? That would be very fitting. Should it be like right by the Hamilton City Hall, in that Jackson Square, which is a bit dodgy at times? Should it be where else? Where that first Tim Hortons, they have this like fancy Tim Hortons, and I think it's like one of the first, if not the first Tim Hortons location. Anyway, you let me know where you think an SGA statue should go. I think it should be there. What would my pick be? I think his high school or Jackson Square would be nice. And I like too the fact that like he really like claims Hamilton. Apparently at the end of the series with Denver, when Jamal Murray and SGA kind of had their handshake, Jamal said, win it for the 6, which I thought was like cute, I guess. Like sometimes I do think it's a little cheesy when people call Toronto the 6. Are we still doing that? You let me know because I'm old. I'm old. I don't know what is like still the thing or not the thing, but it feels like, I don't know, it feels very much like a 2010s thing. But if it's carried over, obviously it has, they're cooler than I am. That's great. The other thing, though, which I didn't realize watching that clip, was when Jamal Murray goes, win it for the 6 or whatever, SGA goes, I'm from Hamilton, which is iconic. Okay, if you're from Hamilton, this is iconic. Like, I don't know, I don't know if it's gonna get better for you. I kid. I actually really like Hamilton. My mom lives out there. I grew up in Mississauga. She retired and then moved to Hamilton. So I've been traveling to Hamilton a lot over the last like 10 years or so, and I've come to really like it. On the mountain too, which is where SGA is from. My mom's always like, did you know he used to go to the pizza place right around the corner? It's so exciting. Like my mom is a 76, soon to be 77-year-old woman. Okay. Like everyone loves this guy. Everyone. Okay. Even my mom. Not that, my mom's a little, she pays a bit of attention to basketball because of me. So that's nice. Anyway, he's a national treasure. I'm so happy for him. I think it was absolutely the right choice. Jokic is a phenomenal player and is very arguably the best player in the league, but he's won it 3 times, and this might be controversial, I don't think so, but I like kinda sharing the wealth a bit with MVP. Now, obviously, if someone's so dominant, of course, they should win multiple awards, I'm not saying that, but SGA winning an MVP is synonymous with OKC's dominance, and also too, like, when you look back at the decade of, like, the 2020s basketball, it'll feel right that he got one. You know what I mean? It's probably not gonna feel right that Embiid got one, but I think it is gonna feel right that SGA got one, and maybe more, who knows? I mean, the thing with this OKC team is that they're so good and they're so young, and not to get too ahead of myself here. I mean, they're up 2-0 in this series. I said last week, whoever wins OKC Denver is going to win the championship, that series was in fact the championship series. I stand by that. I don't think Indiana or New York are going to beat OKC. I also said that, like, I don't think Minnesota stands a chance against this team. I think this series is going to be a sweep or 5 games perhaps, but I just I don't believe in Minnesota. I believe Anthony Edwards can be the best player on a championship team, but he needs help around him, and I will tell you why. Julius Randle tonight, who has been playing really great basketball leading up to tonight. I mean, I really felt like Julius Randle really, like, killed a lot of the, playoff demons that had haunted him in New York. He had 6 points tonight. 6 points. Now, I will give him some credit. He has 5 assists and 5 rebounds, which means he's impacting the game even though he's having a bad scoring night, and I always appreciate that. This is the Western Conference Finals. You can't have a 6-point game if you're Julius Randle. Like, that's just really bad. Another player that I was thinking about, and I was like, this guy's really disappeared in this series, and that's Rudy Gobert. Like, Rudy Gobert is somebody who you at least notice it's on the floor. I was like, half the time I don't even notice he's there. He had 5 points tonight, 1 assist, 9 rebounds in 30 minutes. Randall had 32 minutes. This is unacceptable if you're Minnesota. Like, these guys cannot be like so poor in their offensive contributions that they're not even hitting 10 points. Anthony Edwards tonight had 32 points, 6 rebounds, or sorry, 9 rebounds, 6 assists. Great game from him as usual, but, like, I'm going down the list here and it's like, Mike Conley Jr. had 3 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. Naz Reid had 10 points, 10 points, 8 rebounds, 0 assists. Nickeil Alexander-Walker really stepped up in this game. He had 17 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists. But, like, and Jaden McDaniels as well had 22 points. You only have 3 guys on this team that scored more than 10 points tonight. I mean, it's not good enough. And I know, like, players are gonna have games where they struggle, but this is not good enough. Like, all of these players, like, they talked about the bench stepping up. Your starting lineup needs to step up. Like, this isn't gonna get you anywhere. I feel like I do believe Chris Finch is a good coach, but I don't know if these players have it to make the necessary adjustments to go any further in this series. The defense of OKC is really phenomenal, and especially phenomenal for such a young team. I'm not super stats driven, but we're getting into stats today. Uh, as we've just watched the game. This is an incredible game 1 stat that, like, really blew me away. So, Minnesota had 17 turnovers in game 1, which is, probably normal. However, 13 of those turnovers came from steals. Like, think about that. Almost the majority of, or not obviously the majority, almost all of their turnovers came from steals. That's how good OKC's defense is. I mean, That is so wild to me. Like, they're just too good all over the place. Like, the thing too with OKC is like, if someone has a bad night, like if Jalen Williams has a bad night or whatever, like literally anyone except Shea has a bad night, they have enough depth around them to make up for that fact. Minnesota, I thought going into the season, I thought Minnesota was deeper than they are, but they're not. They're not. And it's weird because they are a good team. They've made it to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. That's not nothing. But I feel like there's just going to be a lot of talk around this team in the offseason about like trading Rudy Gobert or things like that. Like they're going to have a lot of talk around this team, I think. And I don't know if it's like completely just or not. I mean, I think so. I think you know, one of my more terrible predictions, I'm talking about how right I've been about this series going into it, but one of my worst predictions was at the beginning of the year, I thought Dante DiVincenzo was going to be a most improved player candidate, but he's really struggled this year. I mean, even in tonight's game, he had 8 points, 3 assists, 3 rebounds, and it's like this guy's capable of more. And I don't know if it's just a bad fit in Minnesota or what, but he's had better seasons, he's had better stats. I feel like maybe that's a player that you look to move, but and Mike Conley Jr. is just getting up there in age, but ugh, it's not looking great for Minnesota, I will say. And Anthony Edwards is young enough that, like, try and get younger players, to build around him. I don't know. Maybe they keep Rudy. I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. I don't know if Rudy Gobert is doing. I mean, he's important for their size, and it's really hard to get good centers in this league. So I'm not saying necessarily trade him, but he's got to do more for you offensively than 9 points in the Western Conference Finals. Um, Richard Jefferson on the broadcast said something that I thought was very telling. Was in the third quarter, he said that the Minnesota Timberwolves needed to quote toughen up, and I thought that was an interesting an interesting phrasing to use because I was like, this guy is just saying on the broadcast that they're getting outplayed. Like he's just saying they are straight up getting outplayed on every level. And I feel like saying you guys need to toughen up is almost weirdly a nice way to say it because you're implying you believe they can come back. You know what I mean? And I guess like when you're broadcasting a game, you can't just be like, well, this is over. This series is over, So we kind of said that in a way that like sounded hopeful, in a way that I don't necessarily think it is. I don't necessarily think Minnesota has hope in this series. They might get a game 3 or a game 4 if OKC decides to take their foot off the gas, but they're not that kind of team, and I don't think that's going to happen. The other thing that they said was that like Anthony Edwards was, driving to the basket a lot more in game 2, which I thought was very good and was like a really solid adjustment that they made in this game. But the thing is that like if you're constantly driving to the basket and you're not getting any help from any of your other teammates, that's exhausting. And that's the part that I feel like maybe got left out, or you'll hear other analysts talk about, in the next few days. But you can't have Anthony Edwards constantly driving to the basket, either getting a layup, a dunk, or a foul, probably a combination of those things, and have no one else contribute. That is not a way to win. So I'm really curious what they're going to do back in Minnesota. What other adjustments can Chris Finch make for this team to at least get it more competitive? Because these games towards the end, like 118, 103, like I don't really consider that a competitive game. Now, there were stretches where, of course, the score was close. Excuse me. There were stretches where the score was close, but I never once felt like Minnesota was in control of the game. Not once this entire series have I thought Minnesota was in control of the game. Then momentum has never fully been on their side. So curious to see if they can do that or not. I'm not predicting it, but crazier things have happened. Well, speaking of crazier things that have happened, let's talk about Indiana and New York. What a wild, wild finish to game one. I mean, I wish I was filming myself watching this game because I leapt up from my couch when Tyrese Haliburton hit that shot to tie the game in a way like I thought this game was over and I thought New York had it. And then, they make this amazing fourth quarter comeback. They had 20 points in the last 2.5 minutes of the fourth quarter. And then Halliburton hits that shot, his toes on the line. It's a 2, not a 3. He does the choke symbol. I'll talk a bit about the choke symbol. Obviously, it's an homage to Reggie Miller, who did that against the Knicks in the 90s. I loved it. I love that Tyrese pulled this out because I think the fans wanted it and he knew the fans wanted it. And when that shot went in, he thought it was a 3 and he thought he had it. And if it was a 3, that is the most perfect moment because obviously they won. I mean, and at least they did go on to win the game, which thank God. So at least, the choke thing isn't like weirdly cursed or anything like that. But I love it because, even though it meant that the game went to overtime, it was a choke job by the Knicks to let Indiana score that many points in the last 2.5 minutes of the fourth quarter. This was absolutely a choke job by New York. So even though it just meant overtime, I still thought it was very fitting. Tyrese talked about, after the game that he thought it was a 3 and that's why he did it. He wouldn't have done it if he knew it was a 2. He doesn't necessarily plan to do it again, but he did it for the fans. I appreciate all of that. I tend to agree with him. The only thing I want from Haliburton is come up with your own thing. I hate when players are not doing their own thing. Like, be original, you know? Like, every player does, like, oh, the ice in the veins. And it's like, come on, man. Don't be a follower. Be a leader. Be original. Come up with your own thing. Now, in Haliburton's case, I like that he did it because, again, it's an Indiana thing. It's an against New York thing. It's an homage. I like all that. But, and you know what? To give myself credit one more time. Listen, I point out the bad takes too, okay? I pointed out the Dante DiVincenzo thing. I said Haliburton has the potential to be a spoiler in this round. Like, very much like a Trae Young type enemy for the Knicks. And boy, was I right about that. Oh, it's exciting. It's so exciting to see him be that person. But I hope he comes up with his own celebration. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it should be. I think he needs to just, whatever his style is, whatever comes out. But yeah, it would be really fun for Haliburton to have a signature. I think that would be really cool. I anticipate the Knicks will bounce back. I anticipate they will win game 2. I have Indiana in 6. And something that Indiana and OKC have in common that Minnesota and New York don't have is they know how to put their foot on the gas and they know how to keep it there. You know what I mean? Where I feel like when New York or Minnesota, they have like a tiny bit of a lead, they just get comfortable. They get comfortable and they relax a bit. And that's what allows these runs to happen. And to me, like, that is like, I mean, not that and that alone, but that is the difference between being a championship team and not, is that you have the maturity and the endurance to keep your foot on the gas. I mean, even like when Indiana was like struggling to shoot at one point in the game, it, I mean, they didn't give up, you know, they didn't give up. They didn't stop competing and it paid off. And like, I thought the game was over. I think a lot of people thought the game was over. Apparently, people were like leaving the bars in New York and all of that. Like, people thought the game was over, but give them credit. they stuck it out. And then Aaron Nesmith, wow, like 5 or 6 threes in that game. Absolutely phenomenal stuff from him. I feel like I'm rooting for New York, or sorry, I'm rooting for Indiana because they have Pascal and they've got the Canadians. You know what I mean? And I love OJ, like OG. I'm rooting for OG, but I feel like Indiana's kind of pulling on my heartstrings right now. Let me know what you think. I want to know. What else do I have to say? Okay, here's a random thought. This is going to be a shorter episode because I mean there's only 2 series happening now, so there is less to talk about. Okay, we're going to call this the Raptors Homer moment. Let's do it. So, Raptors Homer moment. Okay. I had 2 thoughts about the Raptors, in light of these playoffs. People have been talking about it like, oh, Pascal, OG, even Fred had some good moments. Zach Lowe was kind of bringing this up on his podcast. Like, should they regret the rebuild? Or, was it just that they waited too long to rebuild? Should they be building around Scotty Barnes? And I wanted to pass these questions on to you all because you're the Raptor stans who listen to us here at Raptors Republic. Were you pro rebuild and are you feeling any regrets? That's what I want to know. Are you pro rebuild and are you feeling any regrets? The other thing is, were you anti rebuild and are you feeling like the Raptors should regret it? Or vice versa. I want to know. Personally, I was not, it's on record, it's on the podcast. I was not pro, blow it up and rebuild. But by the time it was happening, I accepted it. Did the Raptors wait too long? Probably. Now, here's the thing. Remember when Scotty won Rookie of the Year? And that whole summer, everyone was like, trade Durant for Scotty Barnes. Right? If we could, I believe that was summer 2021. Or was it 2021 or 2022? Anyway, that summer when we were like, Kevin Durant, Scotty Barnes. I mean, it was like on ESPN, it was everywhere for like at least a month. It doesn't happen. And then Durant's traded mid-season to the Suns. Do you wish Toronto made that trade? Do you wish Toronto made that trade? That's what I want to know. I feel like it's a bold take, and obviously it's a bit of a coward take because it's all in hindsight. I can't say I was pro that. Well, maybe I was pro that trade at the time. I don't know. I think it was like my whole thing at the time was like, it can't just be for Scotty Barnes because he's on a rookie contract. So who else is in the deal? And that would determine whether or not I was pro the deal or not. But knowing now, and again, just a hindsight take, knowing now that all these guys are gone, they weren't able to do this timeline thing. They weren't successfully able to do this, Vision 6-9 thing. We don't know what's happening with RJ Barrett. Is Emmanuel Quickly going to have like a breakout year? Be sitting where we are now, May 22nd. It's almost midnight, so it'll be May 23rd, 2025. Do you wish we made that trade? I think we do. I think we wish we made that trade. I think maybe if, love him, but if OG Anunoby was the other salary in that trade, I don't know if the numbers work because I can't go back in the trade machine to like 3 years ago. But if that was a trade, maybe one other person, maybe a second round pick, something like that. Oh, it would have been juicy. It would have been juicy to have Kevin Durant, Pascal, and Fred. Oh, and then we should have kept Norm. We should have kept Norm. Love Norm. I mean, this is such a fantasy that I'm doing now. But if we kept Norm, did that trade. I mean, it's ballsy to trade a Rookie of the Year, but for Kevin Durant, and I get it at that time, we didn't know if he would be healthy and blah, 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 but he's actually done really well with his health since coming back from that Achilles injury. He's had a couple injuries since, but nothing that's like taken him out for a season or even half a season. I think he's missed like a month here and there, but I mean, oh, again, it's only in hindsight. You'll know what you know at the time. But it just, I don't know. It got me thinking. It got me thinking. It got me in my feels. Let me know what you think. Okay. We're gonna do a hottie highlight of the week. Make this a nice tight half-hour podcast because it is almost midnight. Hottie highlight of the week. Listen, there's been some fun stuff this week, okay? Particularly enjoyed watching Larry David on the sidelines of the Knicks game. He's always fun. There's been a bunch of stuff, but nothing compares to SGA having his acceptance speech for MVP and talking about his wife, Haley Summers. Shout out to her, how much he loves her, how much she has made him a better man. And listen, I love it when a straight man claims his wife like that. But I especially love it when it happens in the NBA because I feel like you just don't see it that often. Like, of course, you've got Steph and Aisha, I've got LeBron and Savannah. I'm sure there's a few others too, but I just love how like he is like she's in the forefront of his life and he's he wants to let us know it. And then just the fact that he got emotional and blah blah blah, it was really sweet. Also, OKC, 3 MVPs. Okay, Durant, Westbrook, and now SGA. Spoiled. Spoiled. Has a team ever accomplished that? 3 different MVPs in like less than 15 years? No, I don't know if anyone's ever accomplished that. Really, really phenomenal stuff. Really like I had to save that moment for the end because it's just so special. But yeah, congrats to SGA. Just really high on his success right now. And looking forward to seeing him win a championship and seeing a statue in Hamilton. Okay, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening and tuning in. Please like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And my puppy Zelda wants to say bye. If you're watching on YouTube, say bye, Zelda. Bye bye. Bye bye. Okay, see you next time. Bye.